येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोर्श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। नमो महावदान्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायिने कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामिने गौरपुषे नमः। पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकम्। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, 7th chapter, verse number 20. Vidura is continuing to ask his questions to Maitreya, and in the previous verses he was glorifying devotion to devotees, that how by performing devotion service to the devotees
Okay.
So this is third canto, 7th chapter, verse number 20. Vidura is continuing to ask questions to Maitreya, and in the previous verses he glorified devotional service to the Lord and his devotees, and he specifically stressed the service to the devotees of the Lord, that how by doing service to them one will attain attachment to the feet of the Lord. Now in this verse it says, Durapa hi alpatapsaha seva vaikuntha vartmasu yatrok diyate nityam deva devo janardanaha. It says that this seva or service to the devotees of the Lord is not easily attained. Those who have little piety or who are not austere, for them it is not available. The devotees of the Lord, they live in Vaikuntha, where the Supreme Lord Janardhan, who is the worshipable of all the gods, is glorified always, Nitya. So in this verse mainly he is stressing the rare characteristic of bhakti. Because one of the characteristic of bhakti is that it is very rare, so durlabha. The 6 characteristics are listed by Sriji Rup Goswami Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and one of them is that it is sudurlabha. So that is stated here that it is durapa, very difficult to attain, but by those who have alp tapasa, those who are not austere, because to do seva you have to do some austerity. Austerity in the sense that you have to act according to the pleasure of the person you serve, and for that you have to understand the mind and mood, and that is difficult. Because to work with machine is easy, but to work with human being is difficult. Because human beings are not machines, which means that they are not easily predictable, and especially the devotees, because devotee is not under the control of his senses. When people are under the control of the senses, you can predict their behavior. You know that if you behave in one particular way, then the other person will behave in this particular way, because he has desires to enjoy the senses. If you press a button for the fan, then you know that the fan will rotate. If you press the button for the light, and the bulb will lit up. So similarly, about human beings you can have some prediction, not always, and you can predict more the animals, because animals are more fixed in their desire for maintaining their body, and they don't have much free will. For human beings it is more difficult, but still they are also under the control of the senses, so they are predictable. But a devotee is not under the control of senses. He is guided only by bhakti, by devotion, by love of God. So it is very hard to predict, and therefore not easy to serve. And then also such devotees are rare, because to get the service of a devotee you have to first find a devotee. So that itself is very rare. So in the 6th canto, Parikshit Maharaj says that Kotishu api sudurlabha, that in millions and millions of people it is very difficult to get the devotee. Muktanam api siddhanam narayana parayana, that even in those who are mukta, who are siddha, it is hard to get one person who is narayana parayana, who is devoted to Lord Krishna. So that makes it more rare. Therefore he says, Kincha seyam mahat seva ati durlabha. Moreover, this service to the mahat, to the pure devotees of the Lord, it is very rare. And that is said here, alpa tapas. Those who have little piety, for them not easy to achieve. Lok rityoktir mahat sevaya tatkripaik labdhyattvena tapah phalatva bhavat. Now, although this word is stated here that those people who have very little piety, they will not get this opportunity. But actually service to a devotee is not dependent on any piety or austerity. It comes only by the grace of the devotee. Mahat sevaya tat kripaya kulabdha. The only possibility of getting service to a devotee is the grace of the devotee and nothing else. So then why the word is stated here, alpa tapasa, or who has very little piety, stock of piety? He says this is spoken as based on common understanding. That generally we say that if you don't have good piety, then it is not possible like that. You cannot get good situation or good position or good fortune without good piety. So only because people think like that, the bhakti is also stated here, seva is also stated here like that. But seva is not dependent on anything like this. It comes only by the grace of the devotee. Vakunthasya vartmabhutesu tadbhaktesu nityam sadham sadhya avasthaya. And these devotees, they are the devotees of the Lord. And they are on the path of Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha is the place where Lord personally resides. He is everywhere, but in the material world he is not manifest. And he becomes manifest only to his devotees. But he has his own abode where he is always manifest, because that place is resided by only his devotees. And there the Lord is always praised by them. Yatro giyate nityam devadevo janardana. So devotees, they praise the Lord even when they are not in the Vaikuntha. He says sadham sadhya avasthaya. Whether they are perfect or they are on the way to become perfect, they glorify the Lord. So now from next verse onwards till the end of this chapter, he is going to ask questions. Previously he had asked some questions, and we know that Parikshit Maharaj had a big list of questions, and to answer that he recited this dialogue between Maitreya and Vidura. And now Vidura is going to ask similar questions, because he has said that the same dialogue happened between Vidura and Maitreya. Sukadeva Goswami said, and I am going to repeat that. So basically these questions will be again more or less repeated with Parikshit has asked. And then Maitreya will start speaking in the next chapter. Srishtvagrhe mehadadini savikarani anukramat tebhyo virajamudhritya tamanu pravishadvibhu. It says that Lord, he created the material elements such as Mahad, Ahankara, etc. in the beginning, along with their transformations in the particular order. And then he made the Viraj, this cosmic form of the Lord, which we read earlier, that he made this Viraj form and then it did not stand up. And then he entered one by one, and then it came to light. So here also says that Udhrita Tamanu Pravishadvita. Then Lord, he entered into him. And that is the universal or the cosmic form of the Lord. It is described as in 1,000 hands and 1,000 legs and 1,000 heads. So that is the cosmic form of the Lord. This topic is discussed many times. We see this coming up repeatedly. And the reason is that by hearing this, our mind will become fixed on Krishna. We will not forget that Krishna is just a human being. Because when we will hear about Krishna, then he is going to behave like a human being. He is merely like human pastimes. So before that we have to make a foundation that this person who seems to be walking and talking on the ground is the same person who created this whole universe and the Brahmandas and the cosmic form. He is the same person. There is no difference. So tendency is to take him as an ordinary being. And many people who think that Krishna he was a great politician. In India you hear this statement as if he was just a politician and nothing more. And in India politicians don't have good reputation.
We can believe that. We can believe it.
So they are supposed to be the lowest of human beings. Really speaking that they have no character basically. This is understood about politicians in India than is modern politicians. So when a politician says yes means maybe. When he says maybe, it means no. When he says no, he is not a politician. Politician never says no, and he will always speak as if he is just going to help you, but he will do nothing. So we should not forget that Krishna is the Supreme Person, and when he is doing things which seem irreligious or against the principles of Dharma, then we should not become doubtful. As Parikshit Maharaj asked question to Sukadeva Goswami, that Pratikam Acharat Brahman, that how is that Krishna had behaved improperly. He is the Dharma Setu, he is the protector of Dharma. So how is that Pardara Vimarsanam, Pratikam Acharat Brahman, Pardara Vimarsanam, that he was having a relation with the others' wives. So to have a relationship with others' wives, that is not considered as very pious or religious. So how Krishna was doing that? So this type of doubt. So first we understand that he is the creator of everything. Everything is coming from him and he is into everything. So there is no such thing as par, other or own for him. Everything is belonging to him, he is in everything. And there is nothing which is unknown to him, nothing which is hidden from him. So he plays with his own energies. So just like a child may play with his own shadow, sometimes children do that. So in the same way Krishna is playing with his own energies. So if he is playing with his own energies, then what is Pardara Vimarsanam or what is having illicit relationship? Nothing illicit or illicit for him. He is beyond all these concepts. So that is possible if we remember what is being stated here. And tendency is to forget. That Sukadeva Goswami says later on in 10th canto that people forget. Nunam vadanti kechit. Some people speak like this, that Krishna, when he was fighting with Shalva and he played a trick on Krishna, suddenly he disappeared and then he came back and he was holding Vasudeva, Krishna's father, and then he cut off his head in front of Krishna. So it is described that for a short time Krishna became confused. Then he came back to his senses, he understood that this is just some magic, and then he killed someone. So he said, Nunam vadanti rajansi kechan na Anvita. He says some people talk like this when they forget what was said earlier about Krishna. It cannot be prevailed over. So that was not Sukadev's opinion. So that is the meaning that by hearing this we become free from sin. Sin is not something like sticking to our body, you take bath and then the sin is going away. Sin is lack of trust, lack of faith in the Supreme Person, lack of trust in the words of Shastra, and then having doubt. So on the path of Bhakti Marg, there is no sin. The only sin is doubt. And then doubt, what it does is that it makes us weak. Then we don't perform our activity wholeheartedly. If we are doubtful, then we cannot give ourselves completely. And unless we are going to give ourselves completely, then we cannot do service. So for that reason, the doubt has to be removed. Otherwise, agyascha ashradadhanascha sansayatma vinishati. Someone who is ignorant, faithless, and full of doubt will be destroyed. Destroyed in the sense that such a person will become deviated from the spirituality. So it is very important to remove the doubts and have faith. And therefore these descriptions are being given repeatedly, so that we understand that God is not an ordinary person, and don't try to use ordinary logic on Him. He is too vast actually to grasp, very vast to grasp His personality. Therefore He says, Srishtva Mahedadini Savikarani Anukrama. He created Mahatattva, this big element. The very element is called Mahat, means big. From this all the Brahmandas, the universes, the galaxies, all these things have been created. So it's just mind-boggling if you see somebody who created this. You make little thing and we become proud. We put one plant and we are thinking we have done a great job. And Savikarani Anukramat, along with their various modifications. Then Virajam Udritya, then he made this Virat form, Tadam Sai Virajam Srishto, and then he entered into it. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Tadevam Krit Kritya Ullasena Purva Shruta Leela Vishesam Prashtum Taduttam Anuvadati Srishtvaita. So he says that in this way Vidura, he felt very satisfied. Just hearing the answer from Maitreya in the previous verses and in the previous chapter, Vidura was ecstatic. And now he would like to hear more about Lord's pastimes. Both are related to his Aishwarya, majestic feature, and his sweet personality as a human being. So although he has heard this before, Purvashrut, he wants to hear more, in more detail. So now basically he is repeating what he has heard, and then he will ask questions. Yamahuradhyam purusham sahasrangrirubahukam yatra vishvaime loka savikasam samasate. So what is this Virat form? He says this is called the Adi Purusha, and it has 1050 feet, 1,000 thighs, 1,000 arms. And in this very form, all these planets with their various divisions, they are existing. Savikasam Samasita. So this is the form of the Lord. As we have read earlier that Patalam Yasya Padamulam, that the sole of the feet is the Patala Loka, the last planetary system. So all these planetary systems, they exist in the form of the Lord. That is being referred to here. Pravishtasya Yam Karnanam Shainam Vishve Sarve Samasate Tadarom Duleshu Eva Sarva Brahmandanam Satvat. So this is called Adi Purusha. This is actually a reference to the Karnanam Shai Vishnu, the first Vishnu who is lying in the causal ocean. And from the pores of whose body all these Brahmandas are coming out. So he is not referring to the cosmic form, but he is referring to the source from whom the Brahmandas are coming. Yasmin dasvidha prana sendriyastridrit tvaya irito yato varnastadvibhuti dhirvadasvana. Says the 10 types of life airs along with the senses, and Indriya are the objects of the senses which have been described by you. All the vibhutis, they exist in him. Please describe all that to me. Kincha yasmin samasti viraji indriyartha vishya indriyani cha tai sahita. So he says that the objects of the senses, along with the senses and the life airs, prana, pan, saman, vyam, dana is 5, and other the secondary, they are all existing. And the 3 types of energies, saha, oj and bala, the energy of the physical energy, the mental energy, all this Yataiva Varna, and from him the various Varnas have come. These 4 Varnas, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Sudra. So Vipradya, Attasya Parameswarasya Vibhuti Prajapatyadhi. And then he has his Vibhuti, because from him then they come Brahma and Daksha and other Prajapatis, and various living beings become manifest. So he wants to have the knowledge about all this. Yatra putraischa pautraischa napridhi sagotrajaihi praja vichitra krite asanyabhir idam tatam. And it is from these vibhuti, these prajapatis, that this whole world became filled with people, because they produced sons and then grandsons and then great-grandsons, and then the various lineages came into existence. So in India, everybody traces their lineage to a particular sage. We all have Gotra. So Gotra comes from the word Go, means cow. And different explanation is given that either these sages, they were having their cows. Gotra means protecting the cow. Tra means to protect. And they had their herds. And then around that, the different lineages grew up. Because one particular sage was there and he had his wife and children, and then they grew up. and then they may have one particular breed of cow with them, and they have their own land, and when they grew up, and then another one is living in another part of the world. So then this surname, which you call surname, in Sanskrit it's called Gotra. So then the Gotras came from these, like you hear these words, Vasishtha, Garga, Kashyapa, Maitreya. These are the Gotras, these are the surnames. So everybody came from these sages. Another explanation is that Gotra also means a mountain. That every sage was living on a mountain. And because he lived on a mountain, then they became Gotras, the people who followed in their dynasty. And they had the Gotra after the name of that sage. And the third generation makes the Gotra. So like we have Yadu, right? And Yadu's son will be Yadav. But then all the people coming after that, they are also called Yadav. So then Yadav becomes the Gotra. Now Gotra they are talking about. Praja Vichitra Krite. So the various types of progeny, the different varieties, wonderful. This became manifest from them, and the whole world was filled by it. So yatra yasu vibhutishu naptridhi dohitrai. So it's described that this vibhuti, which means the Prajapati, the progenitors, they produced children and each had sons and daughters. So both sides then proliferated the whole world and their further progenies. So it is good to have this Gotra. These days in the West they have this, many people try to trace their, what they call it? Genealogy. And some people go to South Africa, African countries and find from where they came. So here the genealogy is from the sages. It is also good to have knowledge of it, because then you have a sattvic pride that I belong to this sage and therefore I should behave in this particular manner and not spoil the name of the sage in whose lineage I am coming. So this is the importance of having this Gotra. And in India, whenever any karma kanda activity is performed, then you have to recite the Gotra. You have to, the Brahmana or the priest is going to ask you, what is your Gotra? And then you have to say that I so and so with this name, with this Gotra, and I am performing this sacrifice or this ritual, religious activity in this particular place, on this particular day, in this particular year, and in this particular kalpa, Svetovaraha kalpa. You have to give the whole timing so that it is pinpointed. Because when you are going to perform this religious activity, then you are going to get the piety. Now the piety must be put in the proper file. Otherwise it can jump out to somebody's file. Then instead of getting into your bank account, it goes into somebody's bank account. So like these days you want to transfer money by wire transfer, and you have to give them the SWIFT code. You have to give them the IBN number, international banking number, you have to give the routing number, and then your particular specific account number. So certain things are common with many people, Gotra may be common with many people. That is like the Swift code. But then you have to give specific your name and your father's name or husband's name and then the time. So then the piety will be deposited in your account. That's what is important. Otherwise somebody else can take. The yakshas and rakshasas, they can also snatch away your piety.
Serious?
Yeah. So you have your bead bag, you chant, so don't show your bead bag, you have to hide it. So you have to keep your jap mala inside the bead bag so that when you chant, somebody else is not snatching away your jap. It has to be kept hidden. There are people who are just hovering around, ready to steal your piety. So you have to be careful about this. That's why they do big bandhan like that. So it's like putting a net around you so that no mosquito can enter it.
And this big bandhana made by mantras?
By mantra, so that all these thieves and dacoits don't steal. Very good act. So is there any question, because there is no light now?
Isn't it working?
Yes, that can work a little bit.
You said that doubts was a hindrance for devotional service or something like that?
Yes, yes.
But isn't it also that our samskaras, bad habits, have a gravity, towards, our habits, and makes it difficult?
Yes, the samskaras, they also give rise to doubt. That's one way they hinder you. Then they create a doubt in your mind, because the sanskara will force you to act in a particular manner. And obviously it is going to give you logically to act in the contrary manner or devotional manner. So they become obstacle.
I have a question about who creates Mahatattva,
Who creates Mahatattva?
from which everything is created. That's Narayan.
Yes,
Okay.
Mahavishnu.
And then after the Mahatattva is created, then the three Paramatmas or Karana, Dakashai,
That is the first Paramatma only Karna Daksha who creates Mahatattva. He is also called Narayan. Narayan
So
means
Karana Daksha, he's also creating Mahatattva. And then comes everything else.
yeah.
Okay.
He is called Vishnu or Narayan.
That's the Karana Daksha Vishnu.
Yeah. It's called Narayan because he is lying down on the water. Nara means water. They are all called Narayan.
Regarding the Gotras, only higher castes were...
No, everybody.
Everybody has a
Because
Gotra.
everybody came from them.
And what about the Mlechas?
Mlechas, they don't have Gotra. They go without Gotra.
In India today, when he's spoken about Dalit, what is meant? I could not...
Dalit is a terminology which is used now
Yeah, now, before, not
for Shudras.
for Shudras, not for Chandalas or...
Yeah, they also.
They also.
They are all part of Shudra.
And who is the Rishi?
Who is the Rishi? I don't know. Maybe it will come in Bhagavatam. Because they are born from the feet of the Lord, but which sage produced them? Probably it will come later on in the chapters further down.
So everyone who has a putra is entitled to be part of the Varnashram, or how is
Yes.
that? Only if you don't have a gotra, you're not. There's no place for you in Varnashram.
No.
Close.
You have to find one.
So how do you actually prove? Anybody can say, my gotra is this and that. How do you really prove?
Well, the only way you can prove is that if you go to these people who keep record of the lineage, there is a class of Brahmanas who used to keep record of the lineage. They are still there, but I'm sure after some time it will stop. So, if they are existing, then they maintain register. So you can go to them and get a copy, because they have been doing it for generations.
Or a lie detector.
They don't work.
Like in the Puri temple, sometimes they believe, sometimes they don't believe.
So that's definitely open to manipulation if somebody really wants.
Or you have to now do a DNA test.
But the fact that it's open to manipulation doesn't mean that it is manipulated anyway.
What
So it's a very
manipulation?
tricky point.
Yeah.
Everything inner, I think, Babaji, cannot be really proved, in the modern sense of the word.
You cannot, that way you can say, well, this person must have manipulated his register.
But then from qualities, From qualities it can be understood.
Yeah, that's also now very
It's an
difficult.
external.
The qualities have also changed so much now.
By art.
So that means just that fact that the qualities have, let's say, deteriorated so considerably, that means that the potency of this lineage is.
Yeah, it has deteriorated. Otherwise, previously, even if somebody will say, oh, he is a Sanodiya Brahman, or he is a Saraswat Brahman, or he is this Brahman, means as soon as they say, then there is a picture which people used to form that they have this type of characteristic. It was also the purpose of Gotra, that if you belong to Gotra, then you have this type of characteristic. But now, because things have become so mixed up, so nothing is very clear. So at present, I think the only proof is the person's character. That is the best praman.
Now there are statements in the Shastra that in Kali Yuga, demons will take birth as Brahmins and things like this.
Yes. There are statements like that. Because there are also, there must be some truth in them. There are Brahmanas who are doing non-Brahmanical activities. They call themselves as Brahmanas.
Like Chagaya. Maruti.
So when Krishna seems to act in a, seems to be overtaken by human nature, like in the example you gave of, who was it, Shalva. What is the teaching behind this? That,
No, Sukadeva Goswami is saying that he did not become confused. He says some people say like this, that he was confused for a muhurta. But Sukadeva did not accept that. So that is not possible.
So that means Krishna just enjoys being confused, or
No, he was not confused.
so then
He was not even acting. He's saying that some people say that, because it's only a description, some people say that when he cut his head off, then Krishna was bewildered for some time. This was, he says, some say like this. That means according to him, he was not bewildered. He understood that this is just magic he's doing. Because how is it possible that he has left Balram behind, that somebody can take away Vasudeva, who is under the protection of Balram? He didn't believe it, so immediately he fought and killed. So he's saying that there are two opinions or two types of descriptions. After all, Sukadeva is describing something which happened in the past. So he's saying that some describe like that. He says these are the people who have forgotten who is Krishna. So obviously it means that it is not his opinion, or he does not accept this.
So then where do you draw the line between Leela, like when he cries, and Mother Yashoda?
No, everything is Leela. If he got bewildered, that was also his Leela. If he did not get bewildered, that was also his Leela.
So he's also not bewildered when Mother Yashoda runs behind him with a stick?
No, that he is. But I am not saying that, I am saying it's not that he is all the time bewildered by everything. So in this particular instance, there are two opinions. That he was bewildered, and other says that he was not bewildered.
Okay.
So even if he is bewildered, then also it is his Leela. He was like a human being. But why it is considered that he is not bewildered? Because in case of Yashoda running behind stick and all, that is his Yogamaya. And this is Salva. He is not a devotee. So not being a devotee and using material Maya, that cannot bewilder Krishna. Yogamaya can bewilder Krishna, and that has a purpose, because that is increasing the love of Yashoda for Krishna. Otherwise Yashoda's love will be diminished, thinking this is God. But here this is a demon who is fighting with Krishna in Asura. And he is not having Yogamaya, he is not a devotee. And this type of bewilderment is not going to increase anybody's love for Krishna. So therefore, Sukadeva said that he was not bewildered. So Maya is of three types. One is which bewilders normal people. Other is which bewilders devotees. And other one is which bewilders God himself. So the first type is the material, Mahamaya. And the other two types are Yogamaya. Because they are dealing between Lord and his devotee.
And about the Lord, that he's always is not bound by morality or immorality, because there is no such a thing applicable on him, because he knows everything, is always present, and everything belongs to him. And so then some people think that Krishna is immoral on several occasions. I don't know exactly the theory. And what about the representative of Krishna, the Guru? Because this morality and immorality is something that
So that is the difference between God and
Guru.
human beings. Although Guru is said to be God, but we also know that he is not God in all respects.
Yeah. So it means that Guru is bound to the morals.
He follows Shastra.
And fellowship. And the Lord is also not bound to follow Shastra, because he is the true Lord.
So that's why it is understood that this so-called being immoral is not immoral. He is not immoral. It is only from our eyes it looks like that he is immoral. Therefore he is not going against Shastra. To know that Guru is also devotee. So he also has conduct as a devotee of Krishna.
The Mahatattva you were speaking before has any relation with Mahatattva of the Sankhya Darshan?
Yes,
And what kind of relation?
it's the same.
Is the same.
Only thing is that in the Sankhya, it is not described that how it comes into existence. There they say that it just happens by the association of Prakriti and Purusha,
Yes.
by automatically. Here it says that it is by the influence of God that it is manifest. So although this is same, but the description is different.
So in Sankhya said Mahatattva comes into being by Prakriti and Purusha.
That is this Sankhya philosophy.
Is the firstborn. Is the firstborn Mahat.
Yes. First manifestation from the Prakriti.